In this week's episode of Hill Climb Monsters in Project Cars 2, we're paying tribute to the greatest ever, as Ayrton Senna's Lotus 98T takes on our Azure Coast hill climb course. But can it dethrone the Jaguar? Let's go find out. What's going on, guys? My name's Batilio and welcome back to Project Cars 2 and a very special episode of Hill Climb Monsters, because this week's challenger, as you can see on screen, is the absolutely epic Lotus 98T from 1986. And the reason I opted to choose this car for this week and for today specifically is, as a lot of you will know, today marks the 24th anniversary of the passing of Ayrton Senna. And Ayrton Senna was without doubt my biggest motor racing idol, my biggest motor racing influence. My earliest memories of motor racing were him battling Alan Prost in 88 and 89. It kind of tells you how old I am, but without doubt, in my opinion, the greatest motor racing driver of all time. You know, you can see how revered he was across the world, in Japan, but also especially in his hometown of Brazil. And he was just, like I said, the greatest of all time in my opinion, because he took it to the next level. He did things that really seemed that nobody else could do, you know. The biggest one, I think, was when he beat Alan Prost, his teammate, in the exact same car at Monaco by, was it 1.5 seconds? Even today, that's pretty much unheard of, unless it's rain affected, and this wasn't a rain affected race. He went out there, he pulled Alan Prost's pants down and shoved a gear stick up his rear end. That's basically what happened, figuratively speaking, by going 1.5 seconds faster. And Alan Prost was no slouch, as we know. He was a four-time world champion, one of the best to ever do it. So, for so many reasons that I could probably go on for the next 20 minutes telling you why I idolise him, but in my opinion, greatest racing driver of all time, top three sportsmen of all time. I put him up there with Brady and Jordan, in my opinion, when you look at all of the sports. But yeah, absolutely superb. Take a look at the car though. As you would imagine, this thing is absolutely brutal. It's got a 1.5 litre. Now, normally when you say it's got a 1.5 litre, oh, so it's quite economical and quite civilised there. Nope, it's got a massive turbo on it. And it's producing 1300 brake horsepower going through the rear wheels. 5-speed H-pattern shifter, good enough for 217 miles an hour and a 0 to 60 time of just over 2.5 seconds. This thing was absolutely brutal. And this came at a time where Formula 1 had no upper restrictions with regards to horsepower. If you could get it there, you could run it there, basically. You were seeing teams running, you know, 12, 13, 1400 brake horsepower in qualifying, having special quality, you know, pretty much one-use quali engines, quali tyres, turbos, transmissions, gearboxes. You know, these things were projected to last maybe 4 or 5 minutes. After that, it was just, it's going to explode. It can't take the stress of the power anymore. So those power-crazed 80s produced cars like this, and not only in Formula 1, but also, you know, 86 was basically when Group B rally was also at the high, you know, at the peak, I suppose you could say, in terms of the power outputs they were finding as well. So it's just a product of what would say the power crazed 80s, and it wasn't just in motorsport, but just motoring in general. Cars were getting more powerful and more wacky and more bonkers, and this, I suppose, is the tip of the iceberg, I suppose, the Lotus 98T, because it was absolutely epic. In terms of the practice and the quali runs and the setup and so on, not quali runs, but the practice and the setup, getting it set up and getting it to where I could drive it wasn't that difficult. Getting it to where I could push it, and then also figuring out where and how to push it, was the difficult thing. I spent a lot of time on the rear end playing with the differential just to try and calm it down a little bit. As you would imagine, with it being turbocharged and having, you know, near 1300 brake horsepower, when that turbo spools up and kicks its boost out, it's like trying to ride a hurricane and control a hurricane. It is just absolutely unreal, and if you're not concentrating, it will snap on you just like that. So you have to be very much on it. So it's very physically taxing, very mentally taxing to get this around. As you would imagine, there were accidents, quite a few of them. I think I only completed, of my 2 hours in practice, I think I only completed 2 runs out of those 2 hours, out of possibly 20 or 30 attempts. Because this thing is just so difficult, so tough to drive. Without doubt, the toughest car I've driven in this series. The Can-Am Porsche was difficult. This is another level. So like I said, as you can imagine, there were a few accidents here, some fairly big ones, and like I said, this just shows you, if you don't respect it, it will bite you, and I just took it a little bit too tight to the curbing at the first corner, and it just spits you out onto the other side, and that's it, game over. So this thing, like I said, absolutely bonkers, absolutely out of this world. But yeah, so we're going to take a look at the actual run in a moment, but let's just refresh our memories with regards to the actual the leaderboard, because as we know, the Jaguar is still very much top of the table with that 626.4, but I think that this is very much a worthy challenger for it. The only other single seater we've had is the Lotus Type 49C, which gets to 706, and I think this is going to absolutely pants that. So I think it definitely needs to be aiming for the Jaguar, thereabouts, you know, 625, 626. I think it'll be quite close, but we'll have to see. In terms of the actual leaderboard, the fastest Lotus 98T time on there is a 646. So I think we can definitely beat that, but can we get onto the first page? We need to 609 to get onto the first page, so we'll see. But like I said, what we're going to do now, though, is we are going to head down to the track, and we are going to see how Senna's Lotus 98T got on its best run. Okay then, guys, here we go. Lotus 98T on our Azure Coast hill climb course. And as you can see there, you can hear it. We were getting wheel spin through first and second gear. You've got to be so careful getting through those early gears. And as we now come through the Senna S's, so fast, up to what, nearly 180 miles an hour before getting it down into second gear, 60 miles an hour into cruise line corner. And then once again, coming down a gear into first through traffic cone corner. And a lot of the time, you wouldn't need to take it first gear in a car that has a 5-speed gearbox, but I found it a lot easier to get out of the corners. If you get out of the throttle long enough in second gear, then it's just going to bog down, and you're going to get turbo lag, and you're never going to get going and lose so much time. But as we come through Stickman Squat, you can see again, get it down into first gear just to help us just keep it responsive, keep the throttle responsive. And now onto the Happy Highway, and a chance to kind of settle down a little bit. You're still got to be wary, of course, especially through the early part of it. This turbo kicking out its boost can really hurt you if you're, like I said, it will bite you. If you're not concentrating, it will bite you. But we're getting up all the way to 185 miles an hour, and then just the slightest little lift, and through traffic cone corner, no bother at all. This thing is absolutely sublime through the faster corners, absolutely brilliant. And as we come down now into Stonewall corner, a little bit of slide, a little bit, the rear end just got a little bit out of shape there. We have to just get out of it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, this car, very good through the faster stuff. The slower speed stuff, it did struggle with a little bit with understeer. But like I said, overall, this was an absolutely brilliant car to drive when you find that sweet spot. But you've got to be on it. You've got to be absolutely on it 100%. And the downfall of this car is areas like this where you're having to accelerate but also having to corner at the same time. You get a bit too happy on the throttle, or you miss a gear change, and you don't do it in time. You're just going to spin those rears up, and it's going to be game over for you. But coming down towards James May corner now, Captain Slow corner, down into first gear once again. Again, a little bit difficult to get it round and get it settled, but once we do, we're pretty much away. A little bit of a short shift there through first and into third gear. Again, get it settled, a little bit of wheel spin at the rear end. But we come through to finish the first sector, and then up towards Silver Spoon Village. And again, this thing was it was quite good through here. You did have to be a little bit wary through mid-danger curve. You couldn't take the curb in on the inside there because it would spit the car out and into a big accident. But through here, near enough flat out, getting up to fifth gear. And again, down towards Fraggle Rock corner, very good. Didn't take Fraggle Rock corner as well as I think I could have. I couldn't find the sweet spot with it. Sometimes I take it too quickly and I end up on the grass on the outside, and that would ruin the run. You could just spin it up and lose it. Sometimes it just wasn't too fast, but I think that was the best I'd taken it, but I still think there's a little bit more to gain there. But coming up now towards the area I was absolutely dreading throughout the entire run. It was the 2 hours and the 1 hour, and just even thinking about doing this was, you know, the Monga Hill Complex. A lot of crests, a lot of acceleration zones which are curved, which doesn't really suit this car. And again, you just got to be careful. Even at slow speeds, it's very easy just to drop the rear end because there's not very much air passing over those wings, so you're going to lose all your downforce. But we get through it just about okay. and you can get it down into first gear just to keep that throttle nice and responsive so we can get out of the corner in a timely fashion. But you're going to see we're going to have a little bit of a wobble just there, just out to correct, get out of the throttle a little bit, get it up into second gear, up into third, over the first of the humps, and then coming up to the second one here. And up to Mirage 1. Again, getting through here wasn't really that difficult. It was fairly good. It was getting out of Mirage 2. That was the problem. I was taking the first part of it through third and then into second for that. But as soon as I figured out that first gear was the way to go, it made things a lot easier to get out of there. And down the pogo stick straight was a little bit hesitant. There were a few areas on this course where this thing will go fully nose up. And pitch you into very large accidents, so you'd have to be a little bit careful through some of the crests, maybe just lift a little bit just to make sure that you're not ending your run prematurely in a very big accident. But you got a little bit of air here, as you can see in the picture-in-picture. But coming through the tunnel now onto the Great Ocean Highway, and again didn't get that exactly how I wanted to. That little follow through there, you have to be careful because if you hit the curbing on the inside, it's going to spit you out to the wall on the outside. So you do have to be a little bit wary through there. I do think I could have taken maybe a bit more speed through there, however, but we are making very good time. We just completed the second sector now, and now we're coming down towards the final, and now we're into the final section. This is where I knew this car would properly excel. It's got some lovely fast sweeping corners, obviously through sweeps, and again through rocky road, but as you can see here, once you get out of it, it bogged down. I had to come down to fourth just to get a bit more speed and get it to be a bit more responsive on the throttle. But again, coming down towards Deception, again, wasn't too bad. Did have to maybe hesitate just a little bit there. One proper mistake came here. We just maybe get a little bit too tight to the barrier on turn, and we do nick it just a little bit, but I don't think it's going to cost us any time there. The big worry was that it may have damaged the steering at the front end, but overall it was absolutely fine after that little bump there. Quite a tough car, actually. But coming onto Rocky Road, again, do have to tiptoe just a little bit. You're going to see here we're going to get a little bit of wheel spin, have to get out of it. So again, just it can be very difficult sometimes. And like I said, once you lose it, it's very difficult to get back. And if you do manage to get it back, you've lost so much time, you might as well just restart the run anyway. But coming out onto Rocky Road now through the second of the tunnels, getting up into fourth gear, all the way up to 150 miles an hour, down into second for the final corner, and for the final run, you have to be a little bit wary because you can get caught out. You're going to see a little bit of a wobble there, but as we come across the line, it's going to be a whopping 6 minutes 11.818. So not only is it the fastest Lotus 98T time on the full-blown game leaderboards, it is also the brand new leader of our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard. It has beaten the Jaguar by a barely believable 15 seconds, near as makes no difference. This thing is absolutely brutal. It's absolutely out of this world, and I can't think of a better way to pay tribute to my, my motor racing icon, Ayrton Senna, by sticking his car on top spot. Unfortunately, as you can see, we don't get a place on the first page of the leaderboards, but when you consider every single car on the first page of the leaderboard is Formula X, I think this is still highly impressive that we managed to get it into 11th place. A car that is, what, 30 years old now? 32 years old, sorry. So yeah, and like I said, I think you actually got the Ghost there. So if you're on PS4, you can probably check it out and have a go with it yourself. But yeah, we've beaten the best time by what, 25 seconds, if my math is correct. It probably isn't, but it could be. But yeah, like I said, sorry, about 35 seconds, sorry. But no, either way, doesn't matter. I'm very have with that time. Would have liked to have got top spot. I think maybe I could get a little bit out of it if I have a bit more time. But either way, I'm very pleased with that. But yeah, so Lotus 98T, brand new leader on our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard. But that is the end of today's episode, guys. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, you would like to see more Project Cars 2 or just general racing or just video content from myself, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have a suggestion and of cars you would like to see take on our Azure Coast Hill Climb course, make sure you leave a comment down below. If I like your idea and I like your comment and I use your car, you will get a mention in the video when that does come up. But yeah, so make sure you leave a comment down below. But again, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace!